this season as head coach, second in the WCHA. The Falcons will play Simon Fraser in exhibition Saturday and open up their season against Miami.
Keeping in mind you've had a limited amount of team and individual time to be together, how do you feel about where your team's at going into the exhibition and Miami's a week away?
Our starting point, Kevin, is different this year than it's been the last four. Our conditioning level, our strength level, I think the familiarity with the system piece, and I'll leave it at that. We're starting at a better level than we have the last 4 years. But as you said, we've had basically no time with these guys, and the time we've had, we're kind of reminding the older guys and teaching the newer guys. So I like the fact that we came in better shape and stronger than we ever have. And I like the fact that we've got some older people that have been in the system for a while. So that in itself, our starting point is better.
Is this the highest starting point you've seen since you've been here? And can you feel the expectations are higher since you've been
100%. It's been well documented what the program was going through maybe 18, 24 months before I got here. That affected recruiting immensely, and not to talk about the type of people we had, because we had great people, but from a hockey perspective, we think our talent level is higher. The expectations that we're talking about today are real. National tournament, in the conversation for league and playoff championships, those are real expectations, and I feel they're deserved. But that's part of the responsibility too, and that's something we're learning, that winning and that responsibility, that just doesn't happen because you talk about it. So where we are from not only on the ice, which is what I was referring to before, but off in terms of expectations, in terms of the talent level, I think we're at the highest point starting that we have. Now, we started some seasons at a pretty low point. So I want to keep in mind the reality of our highest point is still not as high as we want it to be, but it's higher, and we'll see what that means.
Last year you also entered the season with expectations, and I don't think not a lot different than what this year's expectations are. Mm-hmm. Were there lessons learned from last year that could be brought forward this year?
Well, I hope so, John. I mean, we went into last year thinking about special teams and thinking about getting off to a better start. And our special teams were tied for second in our league overall, and we got off to a much better start. There was times during the season last year that we lost our way, and then we ended up finishing pretty good again. We've got to clean that up. I think when we lost our way, we showed our true colors that we hadn't been in winning situations before. We went into the third period with leads or tied, and we found a way to lose those leads and either lose the game or tie the game or whatever, and that cost us 4 or 5 wins, which ultimately, cost you places in the standings and so on. So we've been learning lessons since day one that we got here, and I believe in my heart that the only way you can get better at some of those things is by being in that situation more and more. And I sure hope what we went through last year is something we're going to learn from. We had 18 wins last year. We were tied for third. If we can make that 20 wins or north, and be in a conversation of a league championship, now we're doing the things we say we're doing, but we're not far. I just think the things we need to get better at, it just takes time because we have to live through it. It's not just a snap of the fingers and all of a sudden it's going to happen. We have to live through it, we have to truly believe it, and then we can go make it happen.
Along those same lines, have there been things that have surprised you over the last 4 years that maybe you didn't see coming?
How difficult this is. I didn't know what to expect, and I'm not smart enough to have I still haven't figured it out, but this is a difficult process because you ask 20-year-old boys to do something and you get the right kids and they'll do it. And they're saying, Coach, I'm doing exactly what you're asking me to do, but we're still losing. And everything is equated on winning and losing, right? As it should. But there's more winning going on within our program than the record indicates. That's just real. The people that are leaving, the people that are coming, kids are leaving this program better than they found it, and there's winning going on. But it's tough to convince them there's winning going on when the record says you're losing. And I don't care, I'm not talking about outside the program. Those people can judge me any way they want. I'm talking about the 20-year-old boys. They're like, Coach, I'm doing what you asked me to do, but we're still losing. That's been the most difficult thing. There's specifics and details both on and off the ice that have been hard. But that, I think, has been the hardest, of convincing them to stay the course. Stay the course, control what you can, bring it every day, that kind of talk, and then come Friday, we lose. That's changing. And I think they like the taste on Saturday and on Monday after a win better than they like it after a loss. So then they really start to make some decisions. So that's something that's been hard because it's tough to measure. It's not as black and white as the record indicates.
Is that one of those things where if you get a win early in the year that maybe you didn't think you'd get, that maybe you build a little confidence and things can start rolling?
Sometimes. I don't know if it's as easy as maybe a football win when you've got 16 or 13 games or 12 games, and we've got 38 games. I mean, we had a big win against Ohio State last year early in the year, and that was great. But we went to Ohio State the next Tuesday and lost. I do think along the same lines, it can prove to your people that we can play and beat anybody. And that is something that we're learning more and more.
When talking with your players, with your assistants, what did you guys like about the leadership qualities that Dan brings to being team captain?
I think Dan has evolved from his freshman year to now in terms of his work ethic, in terms of his decision and his willingness to be great every day. And some of the things we're talking about all the time, he's bought into. He had the confidence of every one of his teammates. That is something that played a huge role with us. And I think those other three just are such a support group to him. The four of them are really close as friends, and I think that's a huge thing. I feel like he had the confidence of the group because of the improvements he's made since day one to today, and we feel good about the leadership.
Now, last year with the freshmen you guys had on the roster, the numbers they put up, it seemed like you guys did a good job of integrating them into the lineup. With 11 freshmen this year, is there a different way you have to go about that this year? Do you guys kind of have an attack plan with how to get them involved?
Well, they're going to get thrown in the fire. I mean, I think anyone that knows hockey knows that our freshmen are a little bit different than the typical. We get 20-year-old freshmen. We've got guys that have been away from home for a couple of years, and guys that are physically more mature, are emotionally and mentally more mature. But they're still freshmen. We're still looking at that leadership core you just referenced, at the older people, the guys that have been there and done it, to lead the way. And if we're looking at freshmen to lead the way, it's going to be a long year. Regardless of how many freshmen we have in the lineup, they're going to be in key situations. Physically, they're ready to do that. Mentally and emotionally, we'll have to find out. But we'll go as far as the senior class and our leadership group takes us.
Now, with the goaltending, do you start off this year like you did last year with the 1A, 1B in that, or is it kind of something that you play by just with practice every week?
It's not going to be 1A, 1B because we've got C this year and Chris Nell, and Chris came here to play, and just like the other two, he's got all the potential in the world. And, what he does with that opportunity, that's on Chris, and he knows that. The situation has changed a little bit, Ryan. We're going to have to. This is going to play itself out. I've said this before. The two teams that won our league and playoffs had great goaltending last year. Ours was good. But good's not good enough, not to the level we want to be. So, whichever goalie gives us the best chance to win every night, which means he's playing great, that's the one that'll play.
Does it play out in practice, in games, in both?
I'm a believer, John. It has to be both. I want to give them a chance in games, though. I want to give them a chance in games. They're all going to have a period against Simon Fraser on Saturday. I believe they're all going to get a start of the first 3 games. I don't know how that looks yet. And where we go from there, we see. They're all deserving of an opportunity. And again, I'm a firm believer that they're getting that every day in practice. But I want part of that opportunity and part of that chance to be in games. But we're not going to paint ourselves into a corner where we're going to give everybody 3 starts, or we're going to give it. This is what we're going to do. Everyone's going to get a start, and everyone's going to play a period this Saturday, and then we'll see how it plays out from there.
What did you like about Dejan's play on defense and the limited time you have back there to keep him back there full time this year?
His skating. I don't really think Dejan cares what position he plays. We like his skate. We want to have a D-core that's mobile and that's more offensive than it's been. and Dejan helps us in that transition. You know, Friedman brings that, Nolan Valou brings that, Sean Walker, a year older, brings that. Dejan is another guy that stays along those lines, and we feel we're pretty deep up front, and we didn't love the way we defended last year from our defenseman perspective, and we feel not only does it give us a better look, but we think it gives him a better look to stand out and be the player he wants to be is from the back end.
Your forwards, last year you were putting, or not you, but a lot was expected of Ryan Carpenter. Between getting hurt and missing time, you kind of got a taste of life without Carp. I mean,
Yeah.
is that, will you talk a little bit, is that something that helps the offense this
Yeah,
year?
that's a very fair statement. At the time, it didn't like it very much. But, you know, you see that DeSalvo and Cooper and Ben Murphy and these people can carry the load a little bit. And then, you know, we'd love to see Adam Burkle have a breakout type year offensively. And I still feel, and it was mentioned, that sophomore group with Polkamp, Dufour, and Mercier, they're good players, and they're going to contribute. So we're not overly worried about the offense. It'll be by committee again. It's not one or two guys. It's probably 8 or 9 deep up front. But I think you're going to see, from an offensive perspective, you're going to see more input from the back end. And that's something that needed to happen 5-on-5. And power play, we thought, you know, the power play was getting better because we were adding more offensive people from the back end. But I think you're going to see some more opportunity 5-on-5 for offense. And that helps us make up for Ryan. It's not just the forwards.
When you look at Sean Walker, what do you like about his game?
There's lots I like. I think when Sean got here last year, I'm not sure he even realized how good he can be. He was a little bit of a late recruit in recruiting terms. He's got swagger. He's got some bite to his game that I think he struggled with last year because he took some penalties early and we had to kind of pull the reins in on him a little bit, which I'd rather pull the reins in on a kid, but I think he lost the bite. We want that back. He can really hit. He's got some pop to him for a little bit of an undersized guy. I think there's some offense there. So there's layers to Sean. And he's part of a leadership group that we have this year. And I think with that, he's learning the responsibility. So he's still got development. He's still got to take care of Sean and make sure he's right every day. But we think there's layers to this kid. And I think he's got a chance to be a really good player. So I really feel like you'll see some of the same things from Sean as you did last year. His minutes might go up a little bit, but some of those layers I think he can be just improve from last year and still stay on the same path of that upward trend, because I think he's a guy that's got some real good potential.
Given that he probably should have been on the all-rookie team last year, how do you see him at the end of this year, at the end of next year, at the end of his senior year?
Well, I see him in that conversation if we're talking in those terms. I don't, you know, I think you know me, Kevin, that doesn't get me out of bed every day, and I don't want that to get Sean out of bed. If Sean takes care of Sean, and he brings a strong version of Sean on a daily basis, he's got a chance to be great at this level and play beyond. I think we're proving, you watch professional hockey all the time, the undersized defenseman that can skate, there's room for him in that league. And again, he's got some bite to his game, so he's not letting anybody push him around. We keep telling Sean, Kevin, we're not going to watch you be good. We're not going to watch you be okay. You've got a chance to be great, and it's our responsibility to push you to that, and it's your responsibility to be willing to that push. And so far, we've seen that he is willing. It's just a matter of growing and learning, and he seems to be on a pretty good path that way. So I think the next couple, 3 years are really exciting for him.
You mentioned, Coach, last year that obviously you had some leads late in the game, weren't able to hold them. Seemed like scoring wasn't a challenge so much in the game,
Yeah.
but holding the lead certainly was. And I know you got some young talent coming in on the defense. Has that been an area of concentration for you for this season?
Absolutely. There was times last year where the first 3 years we were here, we looked like we could defend okay. We couldn't score. Then last year, all of a sudden, now we can't defend. I think there was an individual component to that. Some guys kind of went sideways with their game from the back end. But there was a team component, no doubt. We seemed to make mistakes at the wrong times, and the poise and the focus went away. The hard part about yes, we've added some talent back there, but they're young. You know, we need Sullivan, we need Kucera to be great, we need Hafner in the conversation. Those are seniors. Those are guys that were at Ferris State on the road as freshmen in the playoffs and found a way to win. We need that influence. We need that presence to help Mark Friedman, to help Nolan Valu, to help Dejan and Sean. There's no excuse not to defend. There's none. Whether from a goaltending standpoint, a defenseman standpoint, forwards helping out, we will defend better. It's just a matter of how quickly can we get to that level. And we'll get tested early. Miami's forwards will be as good as any forwards we play all year, and we're going to have to defend. And the way we've defended is by committee, and that's not going to change. We expect to defend better than we did last year and not have that timely mistake that ended up in our net to make the game. Because mentally, once that happened, we still weren't strong enough to just right the ship and go back to work. We were still, oh, here we go. Now we're tied, or now we're only up 1 goal, or now we're down a goal. We got used to playing with from behind the first 3 years we were here. Last year, we showed we haven't played with the lead much. Now we've been there, and whether it's defending or offense, taking on, running away from teams, we need to show that experience that we've been there before.
You mentioned Miami, and you already mentioned Ohio State too. Obviously, teams not in the conference anymore. I had a little time to look back on the first season of the WCHA. Your thoughts, 2 teams and playoffs. What do you think?
Well, first of all, from a non-conference perspective, I think we should be playing Western Michigan, Miami, Ohio State every year. Ohio State's been outstanding in wanting us to play them. Miami and Western, we're working through it. Scheduling is not easy. We think we're going to get Western back on the schedule next year. And hopefully for the foreseeable future, we're going to try real hard with Miami. We want people in our building, and that sometimes is the key. So we feel good about our non-conference schedule. As far as the conference play, I mean, I think we proved top to bottom of the conference is hard every night. The main difference in the new conference is the travel. It's the obvious thing. Getting used to the new rinks, getting used to the new hotels, getting used to the new itinerary, what it looks like to go to Anchorage or what it looks like to go to Mankato and Bemidji and these places. And they're not around the corner, man. There are ways. And we put some miles on the old bus last year, but that's the way of the new world, and we'll deal with it. We may leave a little bit earlier or a little bit non-traditional times, when we leave Bowling Green, but we're giving ourselves no excuse. We get there in plenty of time. We're prepared physically. It's up to each individual to prepare themselves mentally. And we feel like we made a good impression the first year. We tied for 3rd. We made it to the Final 5, which is only 4 teams. We were able to host a playoff. So we need to build off of that. And for as long as we're in the WCHA, we'll be proud members, and hopefully it's a long time.
Chris, is there any movement in the college hockey community to try and get you guys more practice before the start of the season, even if it's just a week or 2 before?
I don't think so, Kevin. I think that what I've heard from some of the guys that have been around longer than me is that we start to push that direction, the NCAA will take time away and they'll take games away. They'll let us start around the same time, but we won't play 36, 38 games. We'll play 30. Well, none of us want that. We're fighting a battle with a league a junior league in Canada where they tell us these college kids don't play enough games as it is. So I think we're making the most of the situation, and that is you got your hands tied a little bit until October 4th or whatever that opening first day is, year in and year out. Everyone's in the same boat, and we'll deal with it. The 2 hours of team stuff that we have starting in the middle of September, that can prepare these kids. I don't think they're in any kind of physical harm, Kevin, by playing a game that first day. I really don't. I've been in 15 years, and there's injury, but it's not because, well, it's a groin or they haven't skated or, they're skating the month of September. It's just more unofficial stuff or individual things or very limited team stuff.
Have you worked much on the special teams yet?
No. I mean, that's Saturday's a dress rehearsal. I'm assuming there's going to be special teams play, and we'll get some work at it then.
And then any injuries are going to keep guys out of the lineup Saturday?
No, I think we're pretty healthy.
Any more questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks very much.